What we gonna? Oh, friendly. Yeah. So friendly signs.
Mhm.
Obviously, we have the beautiful Ford F-150 sitting here. So
Correct.
tell me about that. How's that going for you?
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, I imagine it is.
It was quite an undertaking back in June of 2021. Um, but no, other once we got past that, tried to fit into our roles. We had change of guard, so we had a lot of different people. The boys, both of my boys came in, so then that was an adjustment. But
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
again, it, everything was an adjustment. I was an insurance agent.
Right.
Yeah.
First and foremost,
Well,
I was an insurance
you
agent.
still are an insurance agent.
I
now.
still am.
Yeah.
But it's
Sign company was not in your repertoire.
well, no, but you gotta understand when you marry a business owner,
Right.
you're marrying the business too.
Yeah.
Right.
It becomes the other woman. Any way you shake it. Sometimes they had to take priority, and there was times that you just had to push back and say, "No, I'm a priority." So, she was always that other woman.
Yeah.
I knew enough to be dangerous. Nothing like I do now. Now,
Now you're
But-
very
now
dangerous.
I'm very dangerous.
But if your mam's other woman is going and making money, you're doing all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's guys out there that legitimately have another woman.
Right.
Who are not providing money
Or not providing money.
to the household.
It'd be
Correct.
fine if she was paying some freaking bills, right?
And this one died. This
Yeah.
one did. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
So, but it took a little while. And then when you're talking, and we had the union books, and it was everything. It was just kind of thrown in my lap. So it was a lot of long days.
I say that process has to be tough because, again, it's kind of like, my wife's stepmom. Like, I don't even know where to start with this. Like,
Right.
you almost just gotta. This is what I'm gonna do. Then I imagine anyway.
Well,
I'm gonna
and
do this. Then I'm gonna do this. Then
because at first it was I had to run the back side of the shop, and then I had guys out there, and then it was trying to figure that out, and then it was making sure the front office was running, and I understanding what they were doing to help the outside guys, and then I got thrown into the books, so then I had to make sure that this was being taken care of, and this was being taken care of because now this is my focus,
right.
and then it was, oh, this is due, oh, this is due. Oh, and this is due. And it was just one thing after another. And
Yeah.
trying to figure things out and when things happen, and
Well,
the
and
flow chart of
cleaning up the employee base too a little bit, I think, because you had some
Yeah.
guys that maybe weren't necessarily the best workers.
Yeah. It was an interesting revolving door there. For
Well,
a
and
while.
when you
just
have-
from just looking out the back window from my
There's a-
perch over
that
here.
car's gone. There's a new one there now.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which,
So it was that was difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, I mean, I have had my staff over at Allstate. I had her at that point for like 10 years. So I hadn't had to hire or fire anybody in 10 years, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, things have changed.
Well, when you have multiple, like when you have one or two employees, it's a lot easier. You know what I mean, as far as making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and that sort of thing. But
Right.
when you got 10 guys, it's a whole nother ball game.
And then I was going from a woman, and now I have men who now have to interact with the owner being a woman,
Yeah.
and not a stupid woman,
Right.
Yeah.
not one that goes, oh, yeah, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, you pick up that box of screws, because if I find another screw in that back parking lot at $1.09 a piece,
Right. I'm
I'm
killing somebody.
gonna be pulling it out of your paycheck, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute, she knows about that."
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, they didn't know they didn't know who they were fucking with.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but
Correct.
Again,
I've known you a
back
long
to my
time,
thing. They
and I
found
wouldn't-
out.
I wouldn't
You're
do that.
gonna find out.
You're gonna find out.
And it was, and I it's not that I got mad very often, and most of the time I didn't have to. It's just like when I talk to my boys, having boys growing in your household, growing up in your household, they oftentimes knew, that look,
Yeah.
and employees started realizing, oh,
The mom look.
oh,
They figured to look out too.
because it didn't change. I don't. You're now just my kid at work. You might be older than me, or in most cases younger than me. But
Well-
they understood.
And that's kind of interesting too. Like I didn't even think of that until just now. Like, I mean, I'm sure you had some kind of insight about this employee's really good at this. Just from dinner table conversations.
Mhm.
But how did you go about the whole, like, basically evaluating the talent, if you will, once you had to step in? Like, how did you know? Did you already know who was like a keeper and who was a get ridder? Or
I get rid of
Well,
I'm making words up, but
well,
that's all right.
it's your dictionary.
That's right.
You spell it how you want.
That's right. It's Brad's
Um,
dictionary.
You can't spell.
For, for me,
Facts.
oftentimes it would be feedback that I was getting from the boys because both boys came in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it was talking to different people within the office.
Mhm.
Now, within the office, it was depending on interaction. And then you would take whatever they would say and you'd digest it and you'd chew it up. And then part of it, that's their opinion.
Right.
This is what I know. This is a fact. And now I have to digest it and figure it out in my head, you know,
Right.
and that's how I'll go with a gut type of feeling type of person, just because of in the insurance. I mean, I've had people come in and you would think that this pastor would be truthful when I ask you, what's your driving record look like in the last 3 to 5 years?
Right.
And they tell you nothing.
And then you run it.
So you go
And then
to
I run
Welcome
it, and
insurance,
and my favorite one was 22 incidences within the last 5.
22.
And that wasn't dating back to when all his DUIs were still
oh,
an
geez.
issue.
What do you have,
Oh.
like a Honda Civic that he lowered and put a wing on it? Like, what is it?
It was everything from lack of registration. It was no insurance because he needed an SR22. So when someone tells me they need an SR22, you've broke bad at some point in your life.
Gotcha.
You know,
Okay.
the state came down and you either had an accident or you got stopped. And it could have been, hey, your taillight was out and they found out you had no insurance. So they could require one for that.
Gotcha.
But typically that doesn't happen.
Typically, it's not that small of an incident.
No, it's
Yeah.
usually I had an accident and I didn't have insurance because that's usually when you get caught.
Oh, okay.
So, 22. And I sat there and I was like, you spin the piece of paper. Would you like to explain this?
Yeah.
Man of the cloth.
Did he really think you weren't gonna like?
Well,
Find
everybody, and it amazes me because I do driver's ed at the local school. I
Okay.
go in there and they have the insurance division and they ask me to be a guest host. So, our guest teacher. So I'll go in there and I'll discuss it with them. I'm like, hey, this is what you're required by law to have in the state of Illinois. The rest of this is optional. Let me tell you why. And then the rest of it, I actually go over. Now, let me give you an example where this would come into play. And I would explain to them, this is why you need this, and this is why I request this coverage if you're going to be on the road, blah, blah, blah. You'll appreciate it in the end in case of an accident, because the only time you ever call your insurance agent is either when I'm changing cars or I just had an accident. That's when you call. Or my price is too high. That's another one. But you never worry about it until you have an accident.
Right.
So,
Which is kind of the whole point of insurance, anyway.
well, yeah. But when I ask you for a review and you're like, nope. But then you have an accident, you're like, what's my deductible?
Yeah, you don't even remember? Yeah.
Well, when I signed your policy up 7 years ago and you never came back in, I could have explained what your deductible was, or I had people call me up later and complain about it. And okay, well, you signed, I got this paper, it's got your signature on
it's
it.
the strangest thing.
And I go over all the coverages prior to purchase, but that I go in there and these kids come up with these imaginary, like, red cars cost more.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Right. No.
No, unless it's a super uber rare color red.
Right.
And now if it's a candy apple, yeah, it's going to cost more than
Well, I think
a normal
I think
red
there
car.
was a study done at some point where red and yellow cars are the highest ticketed cars.
Now, and that could be.
But I would
because
assume that's just because of it's a bright red car going
Seen.
90 down.
it's seen.
Yeah. So I think that would probably explain that. But
I think
don't-
most of the cars that
I
are
don't know why
ticketed are the ones that are breaking laws.
I would agree with
And
that.
that
I'm not sure
depends
the
on
cop
the
gives a
driver.
I
shit
think
what
that's a
color it
large-
is.
I
He's
think a
probably like,
large-
you're doing 90 and a
I
55.
think a
and-
large part of the cars getting tickets probably broke the law.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll agree with you on
But I've
this
got
one.
2 red vehicles
100%.
and I've never been stopped. I
Yeah.
just wave at them and
Keep going.
yeah, I mean, and I'm always speeding a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
55. That's it.
yeah, just 55.
Exactly.
5 or 10 over about everywhere I go.
Mhm.
And
Well, and it's not that, but on the insurance side, red doesn't make any difference.
right.
Right.
unless it's rare.
Unless it's a
So-
paint, it's the paint that's going to be expensive.
But they're
and
like,
that's-
oh, no, insurance. That's what I was told. And I'm like, okay, well, you can forget what you were just told. And I always say that I had a girl come in and she had broke her pinky. She's like, I broke my pinky during this accident. And my neighbor's cousin's nephew, babysitter's teacher, dog sitter said that they got $300,000 for that pinky. And I'm like, every time that story was told, there was another zero added on the end of that. What really happened?
You
Yeah.
got $30
And-
for that pinky. That's what. That's what
Yeah.
that pinky was worth.
That was it.
If you were
You know,
lucky.
and I'm like, are you a hand model? And she's like, no. I'm like, is it broken? It's deformity? No. Okay. You're not getting 300.
No,
No.
not unless you had that thing.
No,
I know you-
through Lloyd's of London.
I'm gonna say, I
get
know
bill
you-
bills
kind of money.
paid, and that's about it.
Yeah, they're going to give you a slight settlement, which is usually $250 if there's no true nothing.
Her small appendage.
So, and I would tell them, I'm like, everything you've heard, unless you ask your insurance agent, just think of it, it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie. Just, ask an insurance agent. Believe it
Yeah,
or not,
absolutely.
we actually know.
Yeah, well, I hope
Well,
so.
and that goes for a lot of industries, though. In the automotive thing, there's so much weird stuff people
Oh, the
believe about
misconceptions
cars,
are just
and then they'll argue with us. And it's like, I've been doing this for 30 plus years.
Yes.
Did you think I don't know what I'm talking about? Does that make any sense whatsoever?
one of my favorite stories, and I just said it the other day, but I'm sure Misty hasn't heard it, is when I first started out, I was probably 2 years into the thing, and I was doing tires at Goodyear up in Matson.
Mhm.
Car came in, and I'm not joking when I say these tires, they weren't round anymore. They were worn so bad, they were square, like they were cupped and chopped on the edges, and this guy was complaining about a vibration. And I said,
I don't know why.
they need new tires. And I gave it to the service writer, and he talked to the guy, and the service writer comes back and goes, pull it out. He says it's not the tires. I'm like, okay. So the gentleman felt the need before he left to pull up to the open bay door. Son, let me talk to you. So I went, yes, sir, walked up. Yes, sir, what can I do for you? Let me tell you something. Tires don't cause no vibration. And I said, yes, sir, they do when they're not round anymore.
They do.
You have a nice day. So, yes, misconceptions. I understand.
And they have it set in their head. That's it. And then, there is no accident or ticket that goes back 6 months, more than 6 months. They're gone.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So when someone tells me they had an accident and they got a ticket with it and they got court supervision for the ticket, I get it. And they're like, well, the accident was on court supervision too. It disappears. And I'm like, no. The ticket will. If you don't get another during that supervision period,
Okay.
absolutely, that is correct. But if you have an accident, it stays on your record for 3 to 5 years.
The strike on your insurance record, essentially. Yeah.
And they're like, well, wait a minute. Nuh-uh. Uh-huh.
No.
It's
Oh, well, tell me how it is. Yeah.
well, and I mean, I've had them. They're 15 years old in driver's ed telling me I'm wrong,
Oh,
Yeah.
you're wrong. Yeah.
and I'll just look at the teacher and go, seriously? I mean,
Right.
and they're like, when was the last time you got your license with the state of Illinois for property and casualty? And they're like, my mom,
Uh-huh.
or my dad, or
Well,
my uncle.
I know
or-
this person.
I heard one time. I saw this on TikTok.
Steve down on third told me.
Yeah, so you get that all the time, and it's amazing how everybody's so much smarter than you.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh, all the time.
It's like,
That's-
come on.
The other thing that gets me is I'm sure you make suggestions to people on what kind of coverage they should get and stuff like that, and what to not get, and they probably still don't listen, right? I
Mhm.
mean, and just don't get what they absolutely need. And we get that with cars all the time because it's like, don't buy this, don't buy that, don't buy this,
It's
and then they go
exactly what
directly
come
out
back
and
with.
buy the exact vehicle we told them
Not
not to
to
buy.
buy.
Well, but it's it's so cheaper and it's nice. I'm like, did you? That's
There's a reason.
a
Spend
pile
it
of
up
shit.
front or spend it in the back. One of the other.
Or they'll call and be like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. What kind of problems are they known for? And I'll tell them, and then they'll buy the vehicle 6 months later, have one of those known problems, and they're like, I just bought this thing.
yeah. I still got a
Now I
loan
gotta
on it.
spend
What
this
am I
kind
gonna
of
do?
money
I'm like,
on it. And I'm like,
I don't know.
buddy, I told you it was gonna happen. I
I warned you.
cannot help you. You're unhelpable.
Yeah, customers suck.
There's, yeah, I've had those.
We need another chart for the unhelpable. We'll have to
This
make
is
one for
true.
ourselves.
If you think you know more than every professional you deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh, no.
I imagine though that running your own insurance business for as long as you did had to help transitioning into running Friendly.
To an extent, I mean, I knew how to run a business.
Yeah.
I knew how to handle people. I wasn't,
Knew the legal ins and outs.
yeah, and how to kind of navigate. And I had a phenomenal accounting. I had a phenomenal banker. I had a phenomenal lawyer. I had everybody kind of in my corner. So I was
Mhm.
lucky. I sincerely was lucky.
Yeah, your team was really good.
I did. I had just, and then I had the support from my family and then my best friends. I was just blessed to out of everything. It, you don't know
Until you need them.
until I mean until something like this happens. And I always say that you don't know who's going to answer that phone call until you have to call them at 2:00 in the morning. Who's really going to answer that phone? Everybody says they will.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm your ride and die type of thing. But
Mhm.
when you call them up and say, "Hey, I'm on the side of the road and I'm an hour away and it's 2 a.m. Can you come get me?" And they say, "Give me your address." I had that. I had that between friends and family. I sincerely, I was blessed.
That's good.
Out
That's
of
good.
everything that happened, I was blessed. So, but it was still an undertaking. And
Oh, yeah.
I was saying, just Kyle and I were talking about it the other day, and I said, I go, you think about how many hours I was spending. And because I was trying to split them 6 hours at one business.
Well, that's what
and
you were
then,
saying yesterday.
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth.
6 hours at the other place. Plus, then, I was lucky because I still had my mom. My mom was still here.
Yeah.
And then I had Heather and Jeremy, and I'm name dropping.
It's okay.
Oh, that's
You're not saying
you're not
anything
talking
bad.
crap about them, so it'll be all right. Yeah.
And I
Don't
had
sit
them.
here and be like that,
and I-
Heather. What a bitch! Like, that's
No,
That's going to make it keep
you
that.
gotta leave that one
That-
in there.
that
I think
one,
Heather
we
would be
need that
fine
one.
with that.
no, but then I had neighbors like Jeannie and Josh, and
Yeah.
they were just, and then it's a community. They all stepped up. I mean, they didn't have to cook for like a month, and we were pulling things out of the freezer. I'm like, who brought this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had so much support, so I could focus in on that. And the biggest problem I've always felt is that if you lie and stay stagnant too long, people don't realize you're still. I wanted to get the business, especially Friendly, and the Allstate. Everybody, all my clients understood.
Of course.
That demands her attention. So they were,
Nice.
it was an undertaking. And even to this day, like I had a guy who had called me and he was being fairly rude. And then he found out I was the owner. He thought I was Nicole, my graphic designer.
Uh-huh.
And he was kind of being like, when I was talking to him on the phone, I'm like, well, you owe this bill. And he was being a little sassy. And there's a lot of things you can do. Don't be sassy.
Don't sass me.
So I kind of,
Boy, Mom, don't you sass me.
well, and there's a professional side that you have to have, and then
Yeah.
there's the mom friend side, and he was not a friend. So
Right.
here I was being the professional side, and being so polite as I was being criticized, and I kind of I said something that kind of set him back in his heels, and he was like, oh. The following morning, he sent me a message. It's like, well, you're one of the graphic designers, and I said, no, I'm not. And that's when he was like, oh, sorry.
Oops.
So, but people don't anticipate that. They,
Yeah.
they just don't. And
Yeah.
how many people just assume that, oh, you're just doing this because I have to. No, it was my husband's business, and
Yeah.
my oldest son works there, and my
Yeah.
youngest son did at one point. It's been a part of my life ever since I knew him.
Right.
So, I mean, this is
Right.
business,
Right.
and I want to make it successful and be something he would have been proud of.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So but it's hard. It's hard as a woman
Oh, I bet.
in a man's world.
Oh yeah.
that
oh,
that
yeah.
was on your sheet.
There's
Just a woman in a man's
there are so
world.
many guys still to this day that just don't respect a woman in so many industries because it's kind of like the guy coming up and asking where your old man was because he wanted to ask how much he wanted for your car
My-
because he just
exactly.
assumes it's got to be the guy's car. And it's like
Right.
it's really weird for like it's 2023. You know what I
Correct,
mean? Women have
correct.
proven that they can do whatever they wanted.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not like this is 1950 and a woman's place is in the home and shit like
No.
that. It wasn't then either. They didn't stay there.
Well, and you do so much more. I mean, now I'm doing that, and then I actually work for Diamond Brothers.
Yeah.
So I'm at a commercial side. So I stepped away from the personal side, and I actually went to the commercial side. But between that and Friendly, plus then I have a house to run.
Right.
Yeah.
And both my boys are back home.
Yeah.
So I got both my boys at home. I still got 2 dogs. I still have a house. You still got a yard to mow. You still have
All that.
You still got
Yeah.
things to take care
responsibilities
of.
to take care of in your personal life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not bored.
No,
Definitely not bored.
definitely not bored.
Was it hard going over to the new insurance company after working for yourself for so many years? And then, I mean, I don't know anything about your situation or where you're working or how it all works, but
Well, so on the yes and no,
okay.
because yes, now I have people I didn't choose to work with.
Right.
Now, I am, again, blessed because I have a phenomenal group of people. I have so much support at my home office and then other offices, because there's 43 offices throughout the nation.
Okay.
So they're widespread, but there's no lack of, if you want to know something, it's just a matter of getting hold of the right person. Underwriters are phenomenal with the companies that I write for, because it's like 40 companies I can write for.
Okay.
So that's so different from working for one company.
Right.
And it was, can we write this? No.
Well, right.
It was yes or no.
And the rule book was much simpler when you
Oh,
were
yeah,
working
yeah,
for
you-
one
you-
company versus
you had to-
multiple companies.
You only had one company to learn all the rules for, and when I first got there, it was 5 companies I had to actually get assigned to, because you're licensed and you have to background checks. I mean, there's all kinds of craziness that you have to go through to get a license with that company. Well, I'm doing it, and I'm not thinking twice, and then all of a
Right.
sudden you're going on there, and they're like, well, their specialty is, for an example, veterinarian clinics. Their specialty is a mechanic. Their specialty is offices. Their specialty, and it was like, but they all don't do it.
Right.
Isn't it just, I'm going to put it out there for a price? And they're like, no.
No, you got
No, that's
You
not
gotta-
how this works.
you got to find the company.
You got to make sure
not
it's
like
a company that they're going to write, because I got like an excavator, and I'm looking at for excavation, and it's not just
Oh
I'm
yeah.
taking off the topsoil. He's digging.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different story. What state is he in? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
and he's
we
in
don't- we don't
Illinois,
insure in that state, or
but we
insure in
don't
this
we don't
state.
extend to Michigan. And I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a problem, and we don't go south.
Yeah.
Then you got workers' comp, so it's a gamut.
Oh man.
And
sounds
I love
far
it.
more complicated than I want.
Far. Well, let me tell you, when you start getting into it, it's like, and back in the day, I could swim in that shallow thing.
Yeah.
Now they just threw me off the diving board,
Yeah.
and I
Water's
forgot
a little deeper.
to plug my nose.
Oh, it's the worst.
Woo-hoo.
Now you're coughing
It's
while you're drowning.
stinging. Yep, it's stinging. But you learn, and I have learned is so much in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been phenomenal. I can't begrudge that, because actually I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and
Yeah, that's good. That's where success lies.
Oh, yeah. It can
be fun
Staying in
sometimes,
your
too.
comfort zone will never get you where you want to be.
no,
That's something I'm trying to learn myself, and not avoid certain things, like just doing certain things that I normally wouldn't want to do or try. And yeah, that'll take you far.
I'm trying to be the head of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then still running my business, but then starting a new adventure at almost 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, boring you or not.
I look at that crazy chart and I'm like, define crazy.
Well, it's different for everybody though,
Well,
because
Remember, you need multiple points, and
Yeah.
once you get a
'cause
cluster,
at any time
then-
you can disappear from this part.
Yeah,
And you can go to any other one.
And
Well,
we're talking 2 o'clock versus 3 o'clock
Well,
the same day.
Right.
And the crazy line is going to vary for different people. My crazy line is going to be different than Brad's crazy line. And Cody's crazy line is going to be way different. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
Cody's crazy line starts at 6. I don't even think there is 4s in his crazy line.
But it also goes to 20.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
No, it all depends on your definition of
Oh, yeah.
it,
and what you can handle and what you can't handle, and, that sort of thing. Everybody's crazy to some extent, though. There's never been a completely sane human being in the history of mankind.
no. But for me, it's why not?
Yeah.
I'll say offers you an early out, you take it, and
I've
then
known
it's
you a
like,
long time. You're not crazy. You just ain't taking nobody's shit.
but some
And that's
people
not
call that
crazy. That's
crazy.
called self-respect is what
Well,
that's called.
yeah.
It's a
Uh,
level of crazy.
It can
Oh
get
gosh,
it can
yes.
get to there.
Like no one ever looked at a honey badger and was like, "That thing's not fucking crazy."
Let me pet you.
Right.
Do you want to kiss?
Right. Exactly. Right. So I mean,
Not like
it's a different kind of crazy,
Yeah.
I suppose.
I asked my kids. They'd be the first to tell you. And
I'm not going to ask your
I always
kids.
say I got a fairly long
might.
wick, but it all depends on how much heat you put to it, how quickly it goes. And the wick renews itself every day.
Uh
Yeah.
So every morning I wake up, I'm like, don't talk to me before 10. I mean, not really. No, that's really not me because usually don't talk to me before 5. But don't talk to me before 5. Let me have my coffee. I'm golden. I'm fine. Let's go. But if you catch me before that,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Okay.
don't fight with me in the morning. I'm not that person.
I'm gonna text
am,
Kyle
that's-
right now and be
And well,
like,
and they like they're ever that
just
they're
saying."
never up that early. If they're going to bed, maybe, but never up that early.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
passing
but
on the
they're
stairs.
their 20s, man. I mean, what did
Yeah.
we do in our 20s? You know what
I
I
had
mean?
babies.
Well, it's,
Mhm.
That's what I did in my
I
20s.
didn't have babies, but there were other people that had babies that were mine.
Just don't happen. Yeah. No, they would probably give you a good definition of, don't talk to her before she has her coffee. And they know it. And it's all about knowing what my triggers are.
Yeah.
Don't argue with me before I have my coffee. And don't drive like a jerk.
Yeah.
I know who that's directed at.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it. And
Yeah.
the rest of it, don't talk down to me either. There's a lot of things you can do. Just treat me with respect. And
Yeah.
I try to treat everybody with the same
Yeah.
respect I would want.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So, but you'd be surprised at how many people I'm above you or
Oh, I love
I'm better
that.
than you. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
And in the business world, especially, you get a lot of.
Yeah, I don't react well to that. That's why Brad runs the front. And
Right.
we had a gentleman come in. I'm not going to say who it is, but he came in and wanted me to do something for him, and I was like, "Well, you don't have time right now. We can get to it tomorrow or whenever it was." And he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we got tomorrow."
Mhm.
Like maybe not even maybe the next day. Now you prick.
Matter of
Yeah.
fact, looking at the schedule,
Well,
next week
tomorrow is
Like,
really super
You're
tight.
here, you here because you need me to help you,
You.
not the other way around. And I understand that my customers are
You
important
need
to
them.
us,
Yeah, you
but
need them.
You
to
can't
make
come in and
sense.
disrespect me. I won't even work on your stuff. You got to go.
No.
Well, if you're that important of a person, it'd already be done by someone else.
Yeah.
So why are you here?
Why are you
making an
even here?
appointment or trying to come in?
Yeah. So I did not appreciate that, and he did not come back because I think he thought I was going to be like, "Oh, well, you, I know who you are. You got this and you got that." Not impressed. Don't care.
No.
Jeff Bezos could come in and be like, "I need this done right now," and I'd be like, "Dude, I have tomorrow."
Because
you know how much
again-
money I had to have? Yeah, I do. I don't care.
Mm-mm.
Well, people are so arrogant with that kind of stuff. Again, when I was working at Goodyear or whatever, I transitioned from working on cars to the front end sales.
Mhm.
They needed somebody up there. At the time, I thought that's where the money was with the spiffs and the commission and stuff that they were making versus being a tech in the back. So I offered to go up. I worked the front for 2 weeks. Never done it before in my life. Every month we had to go to the main office and we had a review of all your numbers
Every month.
every month.
Wow.
And so I started in the middle of the month. So at the end of the month, I had to go drive all the way over to Indiana to the main office after hours, not getting paid for my review. And so I went in, and it's the HR girl and the GM sitting there. And the GM's a real piece of work. And he goes, "Looking at your numbers, you're really bad and you're never going to make it as a salesman."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Excuse me?" And the HR girl pipes up. She's like, "He's only been doing it for 2 weeks." He's like, "Yeah, well, we got a real good idea of what it takes and what that looks like, and you're not it." And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I worked really hard for them
He was
after
re-
that.
He was really not spot on because you now run your own business
And I do all
and
the
you do all the
all the
customer
sales, all
interaction,
the customer,
sales,
yep.
all that stuff. So I mean,
yeah.
clearly that guy did not have a good clue as
He
to
was
what
not
it takes.
he was not a good evaluator of talent.
Maybe
like-
he was bad at his job.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it sounds like he was probably somebody's brother.
but I mean, even at the time, I was
Kid.
yeah. Well, no, he was college educated, business school.
So much more
MBA.
Oh, so he was really
the
smart.
professor told me this is what it's supposed to look
Super.
like.
He went to college, so he knows. He's
Mhm.
definitely like my son told me when he was like 21. He's like, well, technically, I already have more education than you, so I know more than you. It's like, holy shit, it's not the way it works, boy.
No.
You know more about that than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the rest of the world, I've got you beat.
If I want to know
Hands
about
down.
aspirin, I'll give you a shout.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah, he's a pharmacist.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a smart kid, and he really knows his drug interactions and stuff like that. But
That's good, but
You
that
know.
doesn't help you when you're got a flat tire on the side of the road.
exactly.
or parking in a crosswalk in the city and getting
Oh,
tickets.
geez, that was hilarious. I got.
Or that either.
I got. The, I wonder if I still have that over there.
somewhere.
Yeah, I get a letter because his car is registered to my address, so I get a letter
Okay.
for his car being parked illegally, and I pull it open. He's parked on the crosswalk. I just said
But it was a wide open spot. I don't
sent him a
get
picture.
it.
Yeah,
No one else
nobody
was
was there.
parked there.
Nobody else was there. I
And
don't
he's
get
like,
it.
he's like, yeah, I collect tickets like it's my job, and I was like, you work so you can park like a sausage. That's what you do.
That's what you're currently doing because you're just paying this
Excellent at
city.
it, though.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to excel at something.
I swear I get one a month. Like, what are you doing?
I just giggle now.
Like you would know. You would think you
'Cause they-
But
figured
if
it
he
out.
only gets caught once a month and you save how much a month in parking?
That I don't know because I don't know what
What would that
what he
number
would be
be?
paying.
I'm going to say, so for an example, the ticket's $100,
Right.
but you parked in that crosswalk for
A month, and yeah,
you parked in that crosswalk for 18 out of the 20 days, and you saved yourself $20 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what
You're-
point does it become worth it to just eat the ticket?
Right now, you're $300 to the good.
I like where
See?
you're going with this. I don't think that's what he's thinking.
I don't let it.
no, I'm thinking I'm not parking all the
again,
way
I
over
do
there.
55 and 70 on the interstate.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I'll post. I would never do that, but I'm just
No.
saying.
Well,
if
you're an
I'm-
insurance agent. You wouldn't want to take any risks. That'd
no,
be weird.
absolutely not. I'm not a gambler.
No
Actually,
risk
I'm not.
Mistie. That's what they call her.
I will make sure you're so insured you won't have to guess nothing. That's how it works. No,
Oh,
That's
shit.
I'm
funny.
not a gambler, and I think that's actually
No,
probably-
you don't do any gambling like cards or I assume you don't.
No.
Well, Dave used to like to pump some money in the machines. I know he won
Oh,
quite
sweet
often.
baby Jesus, I would not even want to know. But yeah, he's won. He had won. He had a theory. And
They all
I love
do.
the
They all
gambling
do.
theory.
I'm gonna say you meet somebody who loves
Oh,
to
yeah.
gamble, you're gonna
They all
find
do.
that. He did. He had his
Gotta wear
whole.
these socks. You gotta.
No, he wasn't superstitious.
Okay.
But when he went in and you did something, this is what, and you couldn't vary from it.
Yeah.
And he had learned it from one of his friends, and his friend would lose money on the machines, and he's like, I just saw you completely break all your rules. Well, and he's like, no, these are rules you live and die by, and if you can't, you don't. And he's like, but he did. He got his rules, and that's what he did. Even then, he was kind of a safe bet. Once the money he put in that machine was gone, it was gone.
Just go. He didn't
Yeah.
keep throwing it in, throwing it in,
Mm-mm.
throwing it in.
No, he didn't get that, and he knew he could potentially have issues if he wasn't careful.
Yeah.
I know I would, and I've always said I'm the luckiest unlucky person you've ever met in your life.
If I'm gonna put $20 into like a poker machine, I would just go and give it to the bartender, and then I win.
That's literally
And
what
then
I
I
do.
win.
Look at I won a beer.
That's literally what I do. When we went to the camper show 2 years ago, I think it was now. It's always in February. It's got to be right now, actually. I think Jerry was hauling campers up there. Anyway, we went to the camper show and afterwards went out to eat. We were with the in-laws and some of their friends, and then we went to some casino up there. I don't know which one, and they're all like playing this and playing that, and I would grab a beer. I would see how my wife's doing, and then just walk around.
Mhm.
And when I was done with my beer, I would go back and grab another beer, and I would walk around, and they're all like, "Oh, I lost this. I lost this." I'm like, I just went and drank beer the whole time. I won every time I went to the bar.
$8 down, but yet I'm half.
Hey, man.
I'm buzzed.
That's it.
It's a win.
Yeah. It,
And then in the end,
$20
it's a
well
win.
spent.
$8 at a bar doesn't get you buzzed. That's like 1.5 drinks.
You need to go to the right bar.
Yeah, well,
No, and then
I don't go to the bars.
And another time, me and the wife went to one of the boats out in Joliet, and it was the same scenario. We just took $100. It was like date night. We went out to eat, and we were like, we're not ready to go home yet, so we went out there. We each took $100. I spent mine at the bar, and then she blew hers, and I gave her $40 because I still had money left. I walked around with my beer,
Nice.
just standing behind her, sipping my beer, just people watching.
That's it.
I've won quite a bit of money at casino boats and stuff like that. Not playing anything big, but like I had one day I sat down at three card poker, and I think I started the night with like $30,
Mhm.
and I was up to like $250 at one point in time. I was giving my buddy who was losing all his money, I was giving him chips. Like, here, man, you
Here,
keep
I
playing.
feel bad. Come on.
Yeah,
The next week.
Yeah, I've never liked
but
that
I don't
damn
like
thing.
that. I went to Vegas, took $1,000 spending money to blow on gambling, whatever.
Mhm.
Went through 700 of it, and went, I'm gonna call this 300 a winner and stick it in my pocket and
Correct.
just stop freaking gambling, because all it's doing is sucking my money away, which is obviously what they're designed to do, because
Absolutely.
if they didn't, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
there.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, no, that's kind of the point of the whole thing, is to
Oh,
make money for the
The house always
establishment
wins.
that owns them
House
or
wins.
is leasing
yeah,
them.
absolutely.
I spent $20 on a slots not that long ago, and I came out with like $36.
Yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't tell you last time. I was so excited. It was like $16.
So I one of my recent friends, whatever, we're not gonna get into that, was loves to do the machine. And I
Mhm.
told her, I'm like, so this is how you do these. This is my method if you're gonna do a machine. You put in $20. If you get up another $20, you cash out.
Mhm.
And then you take your 20 and you put it back in. If you go up again, you cash out. And then you take your 20 and you put it back in. You'll never, once you've got your original 20 out in your pocket,
Yeah.
now this is free gambling.
Correct.
So
Right now, you're playing
but
with
what
house
people
money.
will do is they'll put 20 in, run it up to 60, and then lose all that. And it's just like, why did you do that? Why
Yeah,
didn't you
didn't
just
make any
you
sense.
tripled your
What
money? Why
people
didn't you
will
just
do
take
is
it?
go Friday and spend their whole check on a
Oh yeah,
fucking
and then
machine in a
and then
dark
and then
room.
crying because they can't pay their bills,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, what I want to talk about
Oh, God.
is your car.
Oh, okay.
So what year is it?
67.
1967
Pontiac
GTO.
GTO.
What color?
GTO.
Red.
Red. Ooh, it's convertible.
No, I wish.
Hard top.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if I can pull something like that up.
The vinyl top.
Is it like your black top?
It's white.
White?
Yeah. I can change it when I.
Oh, I'm sure we can. I'm just looking. Not a lot of them come with white vinyl.
If you look at my Facebook page,
Oh, do you have it on there? Oh, sweet.
it's just another one of my
Multiple times,
kids.
it sounds like.
It's just another kid I just didn't have to give birth to.
Although I don't know that I am logged in. on
Maintenance is
this.
cheaper than
Is it
having a kid.
factory or modified it or?
A woman bought it, believe it or
I
not.
was gonna say, tell me the story. What's the
Okay,
story?
so that was kind of the deal. We had a friend who said, hey, I know a guy who's selling his GTO.
Okay.
So we went up and then saw it, and Dave said as we got out of the car, do not show any love for this car. You got to get out and be neutral. I said, okay. Well, I walk up to it, and it's red, and you see the back tail lights, and they're just gorgeous, and I'm like, oh, he's like, your eyes are dilating. Stop it.
That is so weird.
So the things I didn't like about it was that it was a bench front seat because it's an automatic.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, is this a true GTO? Well, you open up the door and you checking it out, and it does have the emblem, but the VIN number tells you.
Yeah.
So, of course, look at the VIN, and the VIN's right, and the numbers match. So I'm like, okay, it's a true GTO. And I'm like, that's strange. And he goes, well, the guy collected everything, and a woman had originally ordered it.
Okay.
So she had ordered it, and she did not want to shift all the time. So she chose a few things. She chose that it would be an automatic. She chose that it would be a bench front seat. So she, of course, it's like 22 feet wide.
Oh, yeah.
So you could fit your whole family of
it's a-
6 up front.
It's a couch.
Yeah. So she wanted the couch up front to
Uh-huh.
match the couch in back with
Okay.
15 ashtrays.
I love old cars that still have ashtrays in them. I don't know
It still
why.
does. It has ashtrays everywhere, but the center folds down, and she had a double undercoated, and she ordered floor mats, and she ordered the white top. So
I was gonna say because
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen even in pictures and stuff the white top.
it's a white top. It just
So is that see it
Oh,
keeps taking me somewhere
man.
else. It said I don't know my Facebook password, so I tried to reset it, and it just told me I was going too fast and have been blocked from the site or something. I'm like,
What? You heard it on the podcast first, folks. He's no longer allowed on Facebook.
I guess not.
was
I'm
just
shadow
too
banned or
fast.
something.
Shadow banned.
There's so is this basically what you're looking at? I mean, that's essentially your car there.
Mhm.
Okay, it's pretty cool.
She's
man.
got Kragers on it.
That is
Okay.
pretty.
She's a 400 tri-power.
Well, and we can always maybe get that
Ram hood.
picture and put it up in post.
Yeah, I'll find it.
I'll get you. She's got the tack in the dash or in the hood.
Okay. Oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome.
And it
Yep.
doesn't see what did you say? It's not coming out for at least another month?
At least another month.
At least another month.
Yeah.
Let some of the salt wash off
All
the
the
roads
salt
first.
has to be off the roads, and then I also have to get her detailed.
Oh,
She gets a really nice bath and
She
cleaned
gets-
up, and
she
'cause
gets-
she's
all cleaned up for the summer.
she can't be dirty.
So,
She's just beautiful.
how fast have you had it?
55.
70 on the highway. Exactly the posted speed limit.
Exactly the posted speed. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we all believe that.
You should.
I know if I had a '67 GTO, I would never drive it over first gear. Like,
Correct. Well,
why would you?
Yeah.
parades only. Parades
Yeah,
only.
what would the point be?
Parades only. No,
You-
she's beautiful.
Do you do car shows or anything like that with it?
I'll go to them.
Okay.
I don't.
Don't put it
don't
in.
It's
show
one
it.
of those. My kids were never in a contest of any sort because my philosophy is they're the most beautiful child on earth, and you don't have to. I don't need a prize to know that.
Okay.
She's the same way.
Gotcha.
I truly believe I'm not going to have somebody nitpick my car apart for
Okay.
what? She's beautiful. She's mine.
Okay.
She doesn't owe me a thing. I smile when I get in her. I get on the dash, and now the boys both know. You get on the dash, and you rub the dash, and you say, "Okay, pretty girl, we're going to go out for a ride today."
Does it have a name?
Guilt? That's her name.
Guilt.
that's why I got her.
I love it.
That's why I
That's how
got
I
her.
ended up with her was guilt.
Guilt. Well, Dave had bought what is third boat, fourth boat, and
And you were mad.
no, I was just
Was it
know-
it revenge purchase?
no, it was just one of those,
Revenge
Then
travel.
by then he had his old Camaro, and he was buying another Camaro, and he bought all these boats, and I said, it must be nice to have a toy,
Mm.
and then it hits him. She doesn't have a toy.
Oh, it's her turn.
And he's like, well, what do you want? I've wanted a 67 GTO since I was 9. Well, it was an easy thing to say just because how many of those are still out there
Right.
Right.
in good condition
Yeah,
and
imagine
for
that.
sale?
Yeah.
Yes.
You
and
know-
for
Right.
sale. That's the other.
So I wanted a driver. I didn't want a project car because it's going to be like
you didn't want some
anything
barn
else.
find or something.
No. I mean, it's okay to have a barn find as long as you don't have to do much to it. Just
Well, and you actually go do the things that it needs because
Right.
that's what a lot of guys will go buy these barn cars and then they just sit in their garage until their barn
Correct.
car
Yeah,
is
they're now
warm.
now they're
garage or
the
another
second
barn.
barn car.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's rotted away to nothing and they just never get to it.
No, I didn't want that
Yeah, you wanted a turnkey ready to go,
driver.
exactly 55, the posted speed limit.
Correct. That's all I was looking for. And I wanted the stacked headlights. My dad had a 69. My uncle had a 67.
Okay.
And I think my uncle's was purple. It was called Plum Crazy was the
Okay.
color.
Okay.
And he'd have it in his barn, and I'd go in there, and you'd pull the cover up, and you'd crawl inside the car, and I'd pretend I was driving it. I loved the look, the back window.
I was going to say, because
The
my next
flares.
question was going to be, why at 9 did you want a GTO? Basically, just explain that.
Yeah, it's just one of those. My uncle had one. My dad had one. My dad was a muscle head. I mean, when it came to muscle cars, I mean, it's just that was
That was his
something
thing.
he absolutely loved. He had the old El Camino,
Yeah, I
and
remember the El
yeah,
Camino.
and that was
Yeah.
him and Jeremy's little project.
Oh, yeah.
And um, but I grew up, and that was always the one that kind of stuck in my mind. Was
Yeah.
the goat, and my dad. I want to say my mom was the one that totaled it, and yeah, I want to say my mom. Could be wrong. She's gonna watch this podcast. She's gonna be like, Mistie.
It was not me.
It
That's
wasn't
not what
me.
happened.
But I love the goat, and I love the look of it. And Dave was more of a Camaro guy.
Okay.
And
Wasn't he? He was always kind of a Chevy guy, wasn't he? I mean, I know he had the Ford truck, but
yeah, well, and then the truck was actually he only did that because it was a really good deal, and he really liked it. I mean, he
right.
drove somebody else's, and he really liked it.
That's right, because it had the
Um,
turbo,
yeah,
the
yeah.
3.5
So and
turbo.
it programmer, blah blah blah. But he yeah. Now he had a Monza growing up, so that was kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah, those were neat.
He had when him and I first met. He had a Mustang GT, and it was titanium. The color was titanium, and I only know that because I was driving his car. Somebody hit the tail light, and I had to get the tail light replaced, and it was titanium in color, and nobody had that.
Nobody had that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So, it all kind of he loved
Yeah,
he just loved
GTO is
cars.
always my favorite car. What year Mustang did he have? You say Mustang GT, but there's a lot of years of them. So was it 80s? It had to be like right earlier mid 80s,
Late
late
80s
80s.
because
The Fox
we met in
Fox
92.
body.
Fox body at that point, if it was in the 80s.
92,
Yeah.
we
Now
met
was it
in
a
92.
was it a hatch or was it a?
It was a hatch. I want to say it's a hatch. Yeah, it was a hatch.
Yeah, those are nice
Doesn't that
cars.
sound terrible? He
those
didn't
were
have it
those were really
like all
fast for
that
what they
long
were.
after we were together. Because he had gotten a company truck, and then it was, why am I keeping this car?
Right.
And it was one of those, and I don't remember whatever happened. I think we traded it in on a truck. But regardless, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
I was gonna say that year Mustang was always mine. I was never really into the
67.
old cars.
No, I always
I
like the way
I
they look, but being an auto mechanic, man, I don't like to work on old stuff. The new stuff is just so
Yeah.
much easier.
Really, and
Oh yeah.
I would be on the flip side. I
Yeah.
would think that
Well,
an old car would be easier to work
well,
on.
but I started working on cars in 1996. Fuel injecting was mainstream by then.
Oh,
So when you
yeah,
give me
you're
an
Right.
old
you're
carb
young,
car, I'm like, I mean, I can do them,
right?
but it's just not my wheelhouse.
No, I agree. People come in all the time asking about carburetor this, carburetor that. I'm like,
You really need to find an older
you really got to
mechanic.
find a dude that worked. I mean,
You do.
we really didn't. Again, I wasn't too far behind Dale when I started in the industry, and again, fuel injection was the thing. By then, we were
Right.
looking at computers at
Yeah.
fuel trims and stuff. It wasn't
Well, and that's the other
tweaking
thing
stuff.
too is like now on an old car, you'd have to have a gas analyzer to actually measure and see if your
Yeah.
fuel control is correct. Whereas on the
Okay.
new vehicles, I plug in the scan tool, I pull up the fuel trims, and I can tell exactly what it's doing by looking at 4 numbers.
It's got
Right.
built-in gas analyzers, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Wow. No,
So
it's completely different.
plus the new cars ride and handle and everything's so much better.
Oh, I don't know. I dare you to ever compete with the drive of that or that ride of that
Maybe so.
GTO.
I've never driven one. However,
It's like being in a boat.
yes, I don't like that.
It's real
That's
soft. Everything you can hear the tracks, and you're like,
But you
I
don't
thought
feel
those were
'em.
rougher. I mean, it does. You could hold your glass of water, and it still would remain just perfectly still. 'Cause you go
Really?
across the tracks, it's like it just absorbs everything. Now it might be the squishy tires
Yeah, well, that
and
and
the
the
shocks.
old shocks and the old
Well,
springs and
and
everything's soft, but
of course, with me, I went out and bought a sports car. I bought a Honda S2000. So I mean, that's a completely separate world from a Pontiac GTO.
well, yeah, because it's
you know
more of
what
like
I
a
mean?
track car, like road
Yeah.
course.
Well,
mean,
I like my small, tight handling cars.
Well,
You know what I mean?
and that's what I was gonna say is I would imagine just by the size of that thing that
17 and a half feet long.
it probably handles okay, but probably road course curves is probably not a strong point.
No.
Yeah,
No.
more of a straight
But-
liner.
Yeah.
it's all, but it's pretty much all factory, right? Suspension wise, all that.
Yeah,
You haven't done
everything.
anything to that. Yeah. See, and usually they're a lot better. A lot of guys like to, I'm going to upgrade my suspension, and they go and We had one customer put a drag front suspension on his car, and we're like, "Dude, that's not what you want," he's
No.
not for street driving, and so it just didn't ever hold alignment or handle well or anything
No,
else,
ever.
So when you start modifying them,
Now, the only
things go
thing
to
that
hell.
was modified and was prior to me was the disc brakes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Oh, that's a good upgrade.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do anything,
Now all the way around or just in the front?
you don't know.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Fair.
Hey, all I know is got disc brakes.
Like you said, she's pretty.
All that matters.
She is.
That's all Misty
She
cares.
stops and she goes and she has that rumble to her when you're sitting
Yeah.
there when you first fire her up. And
You can't beat the
Mm.
sound of an old muscle car. That's
no,
that
it's staying in my garage and I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
just breathing in
yeah,
the fumes.
yeah,
No
yeah.
cats.
It just everything
No
everything
emissions.
about her. I mean, it's not like the Monty, so
Right.
she's more of a you go out and you enjoy her. And the whole time I'm in her, it's like being in a parade.
Everybody's waving. Yeah.
You know. When you're driving a normal car, do I know you? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Right.
You're in the goat. It makes no difference. Everybody just waves. And,
Yeah.
give you a big thumbs up. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm smiling the whole time.
Well, and they're probably
Right.
surprised to see it. I mean, no offense, but they're probably surprised to see a woman behind the wheel to start with, and then they're like, "Holy cow!"
Well, and we would go out in it, and I would always drive it because it's my car.
Yeah. Right,
It's
I'm
my
driving.
car.
Yeah.
I'm driving my car, and people would come up. And my most favorite story is we were in Frankfurt, and we went to the car show. And of course, I just park off the side. I don't think anything of it. And we had walked up, did something. We were with the kids, and I came back and popped it open. We had found a place to sit, and I was grabbing the chairs. And a guy comes up and he goes, "Hey, where's your old man?" First off, you don't call him an old man.
Right.
But secondly, why?
Right.
And I'm like, "Do you know him?" He goes, "No, I want to know how much he wanted for his car." And I pull out the chairs and slam the trunk. And I said, "First off, he's not an old man." I go, "But secondly, it's not his car." And I just walk away, and the guy's just like, "Nice car. It's hers." It's hers. He knew better because it was
Oh, yeah.
it was my car.
Yours, yeah.
It was my car.
And never would he entertain the idea of selling it because, oh my
No,
god.
she's actually in my will. So
Well,
I had I guess a guy came in to Friendly and said, "Hey, I want to know if your mom wants to, or I want to know if you're selling the goat." And of course, he didn't realize it was mine.
yeah.
And I was like, "No."
No, sir.
That's a
Well,
bad hard
yeah,
hard no.
Kyle mentioned that, and he's like, he said something about like, "I thought you guys might need money." Blah blah. And Kyle was like, "First of all, we don't need money, and we're not selling the goat."
No. And then he wanted to know about the lake, and
Oh,
Kyle was
yeah.
like, "No, we actually got another lot. I mean,
Right.
he's like, how about?" And Kyle was like, "No."
Just trying to
just wanted to buy all your stuff.
just trying to
Okay.
buy your life. What are
You'd be
doing here?
you'd be surprised at how many people really become almost like a vulture.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because we had one person inquire, and it was completely honest why they were inquiring because it was near family.
Sure.
Hey, I didn't know if you had any intent because they knew I had a Florida house. So then of course the rumor went around that I was moving to Florida,
Gotcha.
Okay.
and I'm like, no, that was never my intent, and still isn't my intent.
Still isn't.
So,
Yeah.
at least not yet. I mean, I got several years. before that
Once you're
happens.
maybe fully retired or something,
I would still split it.
have a place up here.
Yeah,
because your family's up here.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I wouldn't ever solely go down there. I mean, I love it down there. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of here as soon as I can, and I ain't coming back. No way.
you're a hard no. No,
Midwest sucks.
well, and I do get that, but when you're down in Florida, and I've talked to enough Midwest people, they're like, there's certain things you miss. And
Yeah.
There's certain things like the changing of the leaves, the crispness of the air,
Everybody says
the
that.
smell of,
I've
the
had enough.
summers here are way better than the summers down in Florida, for
Oh,
example.
they're just hot and sticky.
They are, but there's just like here. I mean, I'd be at the lake, and we know it's going to be 102 that day.
Yeah.
You're not standing out there deciding to rake your lawn at
Right.
1:00 in the afternoon.
Right,
You
yeah.
find a place in the water. You find
Yeah, that's a
and it's the
that's a
same thing with Florida.
7:30 after dinner kind of chore when it's that
Correct.
hot out.
Yeah, and you do it first thing in the morning, and that's what I learned down in Florida is that first thing in the morning, if I want to go for a walk or if I want to go do something outside and trim my bushes or, do some yard work, you do it at 7 in the morning.
Mhm.
I mean, 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
But, 7, 8, 9, by 10, you
It's
better be
getting warm.
done.
Yeah.
You better be done.
Where are you at
And
down in Florida?
Pine Island, down in St. James City.
Is-
So if you're looking at a map,
Hmm.
Sanibel is to the west of me, and then I'm on a barrier island,
Okay.
and then Cape Coral.
Okay.
So you go from Cape Coral through Matlacha onto Pine Island. There we
Yep.
go.
Oh.
Oop.
Yep.
Yeah, so right by Fort Myers there.
Yep.
So on the Gulf side then.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and what's nice about Florida when you're on the Gulf like that, and I've checked this numerous times because I have a place I'd like to go in Ruskin, which is a little bit south. It's just south of Tampa Bay, like the actual
Okay.
bay. So I like to go there. But when you're close to the Gulf, it'll be 100 degrees here. It's 85 there.
Yeah.
Because you're just that Gulf temperature it keeps it there.
Well, there's a wind, and it's coming off the water, and as long as the water doesn't get too terribly warm,
Yeah,
you're okay. And my best friend, she lives down in Naples.
Gotcha.
So, but she lives inland in Naples. I mean, not that far from
Yeah.
the ocean. Don't get me wrong, or from the Gulf. But her temp versus my temp. Now, yeah, she's south of me, but
But still.
it always varies from. And I've made it to our house in about 45 minutes.
But it's just the wind coming off the Gulf.
Yep, and I'm on the water, so it does make a difference.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
And Brad has a place probably sometime in the future, right? In Inglewood.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
Yeah.
Is
Inglewood
it'd
Beach.
be his wife's place.
Yeah, it was her dad's house, and her stepmom's still there, and
Okay.
because of Florida law, however, I assume it has something to do with like gold diggers and that kind of thing, with how much there is of that down in Florida. Apparently, when her biological father died, she actually became half owner of the house. Her dad was the only one on the house to start.
Okay.
So her stepmom was never actually on the house. So because there was living children and the stepmom, they both have 50-50 interest in the property.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's an interesting law. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And
Because
again, the only reason I can think that would be is, again,
Gold diggers.
Well, and
Yeah.
because when we were still in the process of building the house when Dave died,
yeah.
and then I had talked to him, I said, before we do the title transfer and everything else, what do I need to do?
Right.
And I tell you what, Illinois really needs to take like notes on how to get this done, because
Mhm.
they told me I had to come in and file a death certificate. So I took one from up here, took it down there, walked in, they gave me a number, had to watch it. We were sitting down for about 5 minutes. Got up, they called our number or called my number. Bev and I walked over, we sat down, talked to the guy. I told him what happened. And I said, I need to make sure that this is recorded so that going forward, that when the house is titled, it'll be in my name solely.
Right.
And I don't have to keep signing paperwork. I don't have to sign any paperwork saying Dave, because I can't sign.
Yeah.
And he goes, I completely understand. So he went ahead and he filed it, and he scanned it and goes, if you ever need a copy, it's $4.
Hmm.
I don't care how many copies you want. Actually, more would even be less. Like, do you know what it costs to get
Right.
you got to take out like a mortgage
Yeah.
to get
Yeah,
enough.
it's crazy.
And he's like, nope. And he redacted, cause it up, because it's nobody's business.
There you go.
I'm like, you're joking. No, nope.
Here's
He goes, "You're
take
fine."
my money. Thank you.
And I go, and it was to file it. It was like $5.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So then I got done, and we were walking out, and Bev's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know what to do."
Mm-hmm.
First off, I wasn't there for 6 hours.
Yeah, it's too easy.
I brought snacks.
Yeah. And there's no way I thought this was getting done today. First.
Well, and I said, I'm sure I forgot something, because he asked me for my ID.
Yeah.
I brought my birth certificate, marriage certificate. I brought the death certificate. Then I brought my passport, ID, and driver's license, because I knew.
Yeah.
I just knew.
Oh,
That's
They
what
were
was
gonna
the
be a
one
want something
thing.
you
pain.
Yeah.
didn't have. Yeah.
So I brought everything. I think I took a copy of the deed to my house in Illinois. I took all my paperwork that I had so far. Say I hadn't, the contractor still had technically the title to my house because it wasn't fully built yet.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't even say where I'm at.
Right.
And they said, no, you can file something like that. That's not a problem. No, if you need anything else, let us know. Hands me a business card.
You're like, this was too easy.
I'm like,
I feel like I'm getting set up.
this is a dream.
Yeah.
And someone's going to pinch me. I'm going to wake up
No,
because
you-
it was just that easy.
Government's a lot easier to navigate in Florida than it is up
They
here.
they have their stuff together.
Yeah.
They really,
Well,
really
I think
do.
your situation compared to my wife's situation would have been different anyway, because
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
kids are your
absolutely.
kids.
Yeah,
where,
well, and
like-
they have no rights into it until I'm
Exactly. Where
I'm
like
deceased.
down
So
with my wife, that's not her mom.
oh, right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
Oh
So
no,
I think
it's
that's-
amazing because everything down there is different. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and it's smart because I'm sure.
Well, and my wife
They're-
wasn't even sure if she wanted to have 50-50 of the house at first. And then actually her aunts talked her into it because they were like, my parents paid cash for that house.
So that place, if it ever comes to fruition and we're in any kind of spot, we've talked about it. Obviously, it's nothing set in stone, but we'd like to maybe start an LLC, buy it, and turn it into a vacation rental.
Oh yeah.
Just
I told my
because-
wife we should do that, and she's like, I just want to sell it.
So,
I'm like,
so my idea is me and him will
Okay.
purchase it from her. She has her money, and then
Right.
and then we can just vacation rentals are just that's just money in your pocket all year.
And that was the one thing I had judged brought to me last time I was down. I had one of my neighbors come down and he said, hey, I got a friend who's looking for a place to stay. They rent this place because this person's always gone in December. And this person's always gone in January. And this person's always gone in March. You have rent? Because, we would like to have them because if so-and-so can't do it this year, then, and I said, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be different. We had went into it with the perspective that if we can't afford it, we shouldn't have it. Can we afford it without renting it? And it was like, yeah, and how often do we want to go down? I think that's a lot of it.
Well,
how often do we want to go down?
yeah.
And we had made it a deal. We wanted to go down once a month, and it would vary according to airfare. So we'll go down the second week of this month, but next month we're going to go down the first.
Right.
And then the month after it was third week.
yeah.
But it all depended, and especially around graduation time, spring break, you had to vary it a little bit just because the
Oh, I'm
prices
sure.
got a little crazy. So it was like, God, I would really hate to run it out, and it's that week we could go.
That you want to go. Yeah.
So we just opted to not. And then when he asked me, then I leave and we leave, and I'm like, well, maybe I should run it out.
Right.
But for an example, Hunter's down there right now.
Right.
And I've been down there
Well-
like for the last.
But with that
Several
though, if you on like your Verbo site, you can go on and like the place that I had rented in Ruskin a few times, they'll black out November through January because
Right.
they're there.
Right.
that whole
Oh
time,
no.
so-
But I'm not. I mean, I first I have circumstances that I was down there a lot. Do I know? Like right now, I know my doc's going in June.
Right.
When am I going down?
So you don't know
As soon
exactly when you're
as soon as he tells me that, hey, the doc's going in, then I'm going to go down. Because I have to get the electrician lined up to get the dock taken care of.
Yeah.
After the hurricane, you couldn't go down.
Right.
So then once I could, then I was down there and I was doing nothing but cleanup and then helping other people with cleanup and, landscaping and
How
trying
was
to
that
figure
for you, the
out.
hurricane? Did it hit you guys pretty hard?
I have a cement house.
Okay.
So
Well, the house
it's
was okay.
cement with poured cement inside of it with rebar.
Okay.
And then all my windows are all hurricane.
Yeah.
So even my garage door is hurricane.
Okay.
I lost 3 screens out of 5 in my lanai. My screen door mechanism. I thought my fans were shot, but they fired back up last time. I think they had to dry out.
Okay. A little more
I lost
shit.
my TV when you tipped it sideways. A month later, water just poured
Water
out.
poured
Oh,
out of the
geez.
TV.
And
yeah.
then like it was like chunky because like the salt water had started to crystallize.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I knew then it wasn't going to be any good. So I had the 3 screens replaced. I lost a bunch. I thought I had lost a bunch of landscaping But actually, once I cut it, I just cut it straight to the ground. I said, if you come back, you come back. If
Right.
not, I'll replace you. And, 2 weeks later, I come back and it was green. So I went, yeah, hey, there's that.
All in all, not terrible.
No. And then I got water in my garage, but I got flood vents.
Okay.
So the water came in, the water left when it started receding. But my house is built up about 4 foot,
Oh, okay.
3 foot, 3.5 foot. And then, so the water came in. Anything that was on the ground got wet.
Yeah.
But my car wasn't there.
Right.
So,
empty garage or what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you had
I
stuff.
mean,
in the garage,
I did
but-
have a few things on the ground, like my power washer was on the ground. That was smart. One thing you really do need after a flood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I had one of my friends, her husband, Nick, he was a great guy. He came down, he power washed it all out. And so when I actually got there,
It was clean for you.
Nice.
you didn't even know it happened.
Oh,
I mean, there's a few things I had to throw away, like some lawn chairs that were on the ground, but I didn't have much in my garage.
Right. No, that's
So-
good. At
That's
least.
not a bad
I was
deal,
really lucky. I mean, there are some people that are completely devastated. There's houses being hauled out.
Oh, I'm sure.
Manufactured homes just hauled out one after another.
Because they're just trashed.
So I was blessed. I
Yeah.
was blessed. And out of everything, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. Cassie was lucky too. I guess her place was okay. She's got I think it's like a great aunt or something, I want to say, that lives nearby. So she'll go check on the place from time to time because her stepmom's real hard to get a hold of. I don't
Well, and she's got some other people that are living there with her, staying with her, or whatever, but they seem to be
supposedly.
taking care of the place pretty well.
Yeah, we don't really know. We've only been we went there once and visited her and stuff, but
Mhm.
other than that, they kind of lost contact. I don't think her stepmom's a huge fan of the whole idea of the whole thing.
She doesn't own it all.
Right. So, but
There's something to
yeah,
be
she
said.
had some roommates, I guess, and I guess the place looked good last time her great aunt or whatever went by and
That's good.
called her and said, "Yeah, place looks good." So.
But I mean, as far as her not being thrilled about the situation, Cassie's father didn't die suddenly, right? It was
Correct.
it was a thing that was coming.
Yeah.
And everyone knew it.
Yeah.
And he could have switched everything into her name if he wanted her to have that house.
Oh yeah,
And he didn't.
correct.
So there's that.
Yeah. No, like she didn't even know she didn't even know the house was paid for, let alone how to pay the bills or who the bills were getting paid
'Cause
to,
he
or
did
he
everything.
handled all of that, and she never had to do any of it. So she had a bit of a learning curve there after
yeah.
after he had passed away. But yeah, it was a mess. So,
Absolutely.
especially for my wife. Well, I was just her family. I try to hands off with her family as much as possible.
Let her handle it. Support her.
Hmm. Yeah.
I get it.
So what's it like what's it like being in a house full of
Men.
pigs? Because I know your boys.
It's constant. It's constant. I'm always picking up underwear. Well, it was so funny because I was down in Florida, and the dryer was full, and I was like, huh. So I pulled the dryer out, and Kyle was the last one there, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, oh, towels. So I'm folding towels, and all of a sudden I pick up underwear, and I'm like, well, throw them away.
Yeah.
I just threw them away, and he's like, well, that's when my barefoot suit, got blown out, and we were laughing about it, and I'm like, dude. But I'm used to that. I go through laundry. I would do laundry for the boys and throw away. Mental note. Mental note. We need to go shopping for some
this.
new socks, new underwear, and you put your hand in the sock and you got your finger. No, new socks, new underwear, and they need more shirts. Yeah.
I think my favorite quote of yours, and you were coming in with, I think an oil change on this one actually, was when I walk through my house, it's just nothing but testosterone.
Yeah. Well, and I grew up with brothers.
Yeah.
And I was one of 6 grandchildren on my mom's side that was all boys. So you go to your grandparents' house and it was nothing but boys. And then you grow up with nothing but boys. And then, of course, then I have nothing but boys.
Yeah.
You were
So-
you were well versed.
Mhm.
to
Oh,
say the least.
nothing scares me. People tell me I'd be scared.
Yeah, you've seen it.
I've got boys. And then they bring over friends, which are boys.
Yeah.
So when they
or
actually
now girls, from what I understand.
well now they bring home girls, and I'm like, they better understand they got to have some thick skin, because it's the only way it's going to ride with you and your friends, and I know that.
Yeah.
But I think it also well versed me from between growing up with brothers, then having boys, and kind of being in a man's world. Nothing scares me.
Yeah.
You want to make me scared?
Yeah. Not gonna happen.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No. Seen it, done it. I ain't scared.
I believe that.
I bought the T-shirt.
Did
So
you?
you're-
Really? Is that true?
So,
Oh.
so you're the find out
I
when
thought
people
maybe
are
you went on
fucking
Etsy
around.
or something.
It's like, no, I bought the T-shirt.
Okay.
No, believe me.
You're the find out when people fuck around is
Mhm,
basically what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're the find out section of
Yeah.
that chart.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I don't think twice about verbiage and talk and cussing and nothing
No,
nothing
is that-
bothers me, and especially when I've talked to other insurance producers, and you talk about, I'm going to go out and see this client,
Yeah.
and they're like, I just want to let you know. I'm like, I was the midnight waitress at a truck stop.
Ooh. But you've
Like,
heard it.
say something to me that I haven't heard before.
I have seen some crazy things happen.
Yeah.
So really, I'm good. And I think the worst job I ever had was I was working with all women. And I see the cattiness, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
who
could
does
see that.
that?
I could see that.
But because I've been brought up in a man's world, my dad taught me all the essentials about not needing. You shouldn't need somebody. You should want somebody.
Correct.
You should never need somebody. So I knew how to change my own oil. I knew how to just change out a tire. There's like not
No, but
crazy things.
The essentials.
And then, but I also knew how to cook. I knew how to clean. I knew how to do my own laundry. I knew all that. I could be self-sufficient
Right.
if I had to be.
Right.
I can make educated decisions regarding my cars. I can tell you when the oil change is needed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
need to do that. And hey, this is making a funny noise, or this is different, or I can tell you silly things, especially with the goat, because I'm driving her. I'm like, there's something that's not right, and and this is what's happening.
She's
I
a
hear
little
this
off.
noise.
I even
Yeah.
petted the dash before I
Well,
started.
you're-
It didn't work this time.
your knowledge of mechanical workings is sufficient to where you understand.
Which end of the screwdriver to hold?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, we got there's and like you say, being a man's world, but I know a lot of men that
Can't get out of their
say
own
the
damn way.
craziest thing about
Yeah.
their cars. Like I think, what was the one they had the other day? I had new tires put on. I think they knocked off some exhaust clamps, and I'm like,
Yeah.
unless he took the tire off and started swinging it around under the car, I'm pretty sure he
That's
didn't
not
knock
happening.
off the exhaust clamps. Like, where did that? How did
Well,
that
but
how did
they're-
your mind get there?
There's people who try to figure out ways of.
We've got, and I'm sure
You know what's interesting there? I just thought of this too. How much of that do you think is previous bullshit fed from like another shop or something?
Yeah.
Like something happens and they don't want to own up to it, so they make up some like crazy off the wall shit.
No, that never happens.
Yeah. But then the next time something happens, like the people actually believe them, and they're like, "I think this happened again." Like,
Okay, so I've had people come in. I had an accident. I hit a car in a parking lot, and it's on my driver's side. But while I was there, then I have this door ding on the other side. It's like happened at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. That
And I got a flat tire, and those tires are bald because of it.
oh, I see that all
and
the
it
time.
needs an oil change.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
And
from
the
the body shop.
transmission, it won't shift to second gear now. I don't
Actually
know
never
why.
had that flushed. It probably should be.
Yeah. So I hear that all the time. I was like, is there any chance I can claim the back end damage? No.
Yeah.
That's the way this works.
Yeah.
If you're nice with the body shop, you might be able to work a deal out because
Again, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of that stuff with Mike right now.
yeah, and I've had that happen where it's like, hey, can we skimp a little here? Maybe do this as well, and,
Oh,
and as
yeah.
long as they're making their money, they don't give a shit what they do.
Hey, while you have this done, can you go ahead and do this?
Mhm.
I get that. I get that.
But trying to like, I just meant like as far as the like, oh, that happened in the accident kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, It got
Really?
hit in the back and your front headlights out.
I
I'm
don't know
not
if people can be
sure.
dishonest a little bit sometimes.
Yeah,
No way.
it's weird.
No way.
Especially when they're in trouble.
I think that's inherently human. That's so strange.
I always say that everybody's honest for the first 5 seconds after an accident, and then
I bet it's all gone.
all rules are out the window. Like I said, I've had insureds that come in and they've recorded, the other person getting out, and oh my God, is everything okay? Yeah, everything's okay. Oh my God, that was so my fault. I apologize. I should have looked. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the next time that they have this conversation, and it's with the insurance company,
It's totally different.
this person said that you got out and you pointed a gun at them. It's like, what?
Wait.
It goes from one extreme, but again, I always call it the 5-second rule. And I tell everybody when I do even the insurance division at the high school, you need to understand, if you don't get a police report and you don't have a third party taking down that information, it's your word against theirs.
Yeah.
There's a reason why this truck, my car, all of them have cameras, because guess what happens?
Yeah.
I just got hit by a semi. We were merging. He merged into the side of me.
Yeah.
He claimed it was my fault. You hit my backside over my tire,
Right.
and
Right.
are you joking?
Right. You came
And
in
he's
my
like, well,
lane.
she just came out of nowhere. Well,
That-
and he didn't have a camera.
Yeah.
Guess who did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sent that in, and they went, well, at first they said, we're denying your claim. Then they came back and they said, we'll discuss this.
Yeah.
Really? You can see where I passed him legally, and then all of a sudden he decided, and all of a sudden you see my car go like this. It's like,
Well, and I got in a he said, she said situation out here. I was pulling out
Yeah.
one day. This was years and years
I
ago.
did not like that.
Pulling out of the alley, and I was taking a left to go under the viaduct. And there's traffic backed up. They actually stopped and let me out, but it was backed up almost all the way to the viaduct. And a guy cut over, crossed the double yellow line to go into the turn lane. And as I was coming out,
huh,
I saw him. I hit the brakes. I just tagged him in, like, back behind the right rear wheel. And the cops were like, "Oh, it's your fault. Well, you hit him." And I'm like, "No, but he broke the law. You can't cross over into oncoming traffic to get into the turn lane early."
double yellow crossing. This
Yeah.
is what happened to this truck.
Yeah.
Right out here.
And so they
The
ended up,
camera.
they did
was
me a
saying.
favor, and they marked us both as responsible. So, like,
Right.
our own insurances had to cover the stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
even that I felt was bullshit, because
He broke the law.
you broke
and
the
that
law and
directly
caused
caused an accident.
If he would have just
Right.
waited his turn, I would have made the turn fine and never hit him.
Correct. Well, that was this truck,
Yeah.
because it was same thing.
Yeah.
And it was Kyle, and he was pulling out, which ironically was Jeremy who had waved him on. So his uncle waved him on.
Oh, yeah.
But he
But he didn't
came
see
out,
that.
and when he didn't see it. But he called me up, and I'm like, "Hey, it's okay. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I'll be right there." So I ran down, and I was looking at it, and he started telling me what happened, and I said, "So she crossed the double yellow line?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "She did." And I said, "Okay, if you're okay, get police report." And the cops were like, "Here's accident reports. No issue of tickets. We're just done." So I was heading back down to my office, and I went, "Wait a minute." I'm like, "Dude, did you have that camera on?" Because my boys think with my mom powers, I can like look through the camera.
Hone into the camera at
Yeah.
any point in
Yeah,
time.
apparently I have mom powers. So they're like, so they unplug it constantly.
Oh.
Yeah. So I said, "Please tell me you had that plugged in." And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I did." I said, "Cool." I said, "Pull it up." Pulled it up, sure enough. And so she made a report against us. And I just contacted the insurance company, because the minute the report was made, I'm like, well, go ahead and pay for my truck,
Yeah.
recoup from them. And she says, absolutely, because she saw the footage, and she goes, "You're right." And then she was, again, they were suing us. Sue me all you want.
They're not going to win.
Right.
You're not going to win. And then that's what it came down to.
No shit.
So it was, if it weren't for the video footage, he said, she said.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine never turned into anything. Like, I didn't even, like, I had like a scratch on my bumper of my 2000 Dodge
No big deal.
2500 or 1500 at the time or whatever.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't even touch it.
No, he took the tire off her car.
I remember that day, actually. I remember pulling up and be like, ooh.
Yeah.
No bueno.
He was out walking around, so I was like, I'm just going to let him handle his shit.
Yeah.
He's clearly okay.
He was fine,
that-
and
that-
she was fine. I mean, and I
Yeah.
hate saying that, but everybody was fine
Yeah.
except for cars. I mean, cars were damaged, and I get
That
that.
happens.
Those are replaceable.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, cars are replaceable. You aren't.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a
most
friend
important thing.
driving my first S2000, and she wasn't super familiar with stick. She could drive stick, but not super familiar yet. And doing about 80, grabbed third
Oh,
or no second. Sorry, grabbed second,
oh no bueno.
and
This was great.
it just out in the field, dude. And I mean, we're just sliding through this freaking field, finally coming to a stop, and it is fucking. I mean, dude, I'm driving it home.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was trashed, and I was after we were okay because for a second I was like, "Fuck, we're gonna flip," and we hit this ditch as we were coming in, but we didn't. We were going so fast, we went right over the ditch and landed in the field. Thank fucking God.
I'm gonna
If
say
we would have went down into the ditch, I think we'd have rolled.
Yeah.
And everybody, we were fine, and I'm fucking laughing at this point. She's fucking freaking out, crying and shit,
how do
and
you
I'm like,
not?
calm down. I'm like, it's a fucking car. I will get paid. I will get it replaced, etc., etc. I made $3 fucking grand off that accident. That was fan fucking tastic.
Fucking
I bought a
raccoon.
newer one. I bought one 7 years newer. Yep, couldn't have worked out better. I was like, thanks, man. You're making me cash already because I got a good deal on it. It was worth more than what I paid for it. So
That worked out okay.
they were just like,
The insurance companies, yeah. My very first accident, I was Hope was in the hospital at Comer's, and my elder brother Chip was with me, and we were going to go up and see Hope. So we're up on Garfield Boulevard in Chicago,
Okay.
kind of rough section of town, and I've never had any problem. Shot down the road. I was there was a guy who was backing into a parking spot, and it's 2 lanes. It's actually 4 lanes. It's 2 lanes. And I'm looking in my rear or side view, and I can't see. I'm looking for traffic coming so I can jump out, and I couldn't go anywhere. So I'm stuck. This guy's backing into this parking spot, and all of a sudden I get rear-ended. And then it was not just a little rear-end.
Yeah.
Thank goodness the guy had actually pulled into the spot because I slid like 20 feet. He hit me that hard.
No shit.
And we come to a stop. And at the time, I had a ponytail in my hair. And he had thrown me forward. I was already looking forward, looking at the side.
Yeah.
And so it locked up, threw me forward, hit the top of my steering wheel, came back, hit the top of my seat. And when I did, shoved my ponytail into the back of my head. Now, seatbelt's tight, and I come back forward.
Yeah.
So now Chip was fine. Chip was like, ooh,
Chip,
ooh.
Chip was
No
like, "Hey."
ponytail, wasn't
What was
leaning
that?
forward. There was, what was that? So, all of a sudden, I realized, I mean, I had never been in an accident.
Yeah.
I given advice for years, never actually was in an accident. And I was like, are you okay? And Chip's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, okay. So adrenaline. I get out, and that's when I realized that adrenaline, you don't realize how adrenaline affects you until you're
No.
truly into a situation.
Correct.
My feet are hopping.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I got the shakes.
Yeah.
And I get out, and I asked the guy, are you okay? And he had gotten out of his car, and he had a Mercedes Benz, and he picks up the emblem, and he's got it around his finger. He said, look what you did to my Mercedes Benz.
Oh, you pompous ass.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you know you just rear-ended me, right? He's like, well, if you wouldn't have stopped so quick.
That's how cars work.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Hey, guess what? When I stop and you're behind me, you're going to need to stop
yeah,
as well.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, no. So I went back to the car, grabbed my phone, called 911 because I'm from Yankee County.
Right.
You know, cop comes out, investigates, he writes tickets. No. So she goes, where are you at? I said, Garfield Boulevard. Uh-oh. She's like, where at? So give me a second. So I go down to the sidewalk, walk down to the end of the street, and I'm like, this corner in Garfield. She
Right.
goes, ma'am, get back in your car. I'm like,
No
oh, yeah,
shit.
getting back to my car. And she's like, cops will be right there. And I'm like, okay. So I hang up the phone. And as I'm walking back, floods of people start coming out from these storefronts. Because, of course, an accident just happened.
Uh-huh.
The whole Gapers Gap.
Yeah, yeah.
but they weren't being very nice. And it was, hey, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my dad, many things he taught me besides changing a tire is no man likes crazy. And I'm telling you, in the back of my head, speaking volumes was, no man's like crazy. So act crazy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, what are you looking at? I was like, I just got in an accident. What are you looking at? And these guys were like,
Oh, shit. They're running.
they all started
They're
hightailing.
diving back into their mailboxes and shit.
Never mind. So I get back to the car, and now the adrenaline's still hitting.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm looking at Chip. I'm like, seriously, are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, I can't wait for the cops to get here. The cops roll up, and the guy gets out, and he goes, why are you stopped? We just had an accident.
Right,
He's like, what do you need? I said, I need their information.
right.
He's like, give me a minute. He comes back, and he goes, take this and go to the police station. I'm like, here?
Yeah.
He
Right.
goes, and he gives me the address, and he goes, get over there. They'll make the police report. But get the hell out of the road. All right.
Right.
So at that point, I realized my Jeep was still drivable. So I take, because he actually had hit the full-size tire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he had bent it and my back tailgate really, really bad. But he didn't hit my bumper. He didn't.
Right.
So anyway, I dropped Chip off at the hospital, and then I go over and find this police station. So I get in, and I looked lady waiting in line, and I said, I need to make an accident report. And she's like, okay. She goes, so what happened? And I told her, and she's like, oh, it's just, you're okay. I said, yeah. I said, I took my brother to the hospital, not thinking to see my niece. I didn't follow up to see my niece. She's like, oh, this is a medical. And I go, no.
No.
We're
He's
fine.
fine.
No, we're visiting the hospital.
It's fine. This is
visitors.
why I was going. This is why I was going. And all of a sudden she looks out and she goes, hold on. She goes out and she's like, Joe, get out of her Jeep. This homeless guy was breaking into my soft top of my Jeep and was trying to
Jesus.
like at the police station. I'm getting broke into.
And the cops know him. Get out of there,
She
Joe.
called him by name.
Joe, get out of the back end of that Jeep. So he crawls back out and he does snap it back down.
Well, that was nice of him.
So she goes, so where did this happen? And I told her approximately what time. And I'm very time orientated. It's kind of crazy how you realize there's certain ticks about you, and that was my tick. I said approximately at 6:13, I saw this is when this all went down, and she goes, okay, so found it on the camera. Guy had gotten a red light camera because he blew the red light when he did it.
So he was getting a ticket anyway.
Anyhow, so then she sees in the corner of the view, she could see my taillights.
Mm-hmm.
So she could see him blowing the red light. She could see my taillights in it.
Uh-huh.
So it was,
Pretty
So-
cut and dry.
yeah. So then he comes in and he goes, she stopped out of nowhere. And it's how he opened the whole conversation. And she goes, let me show you. She turns the screen. She goes, you want to continue to argue? And he goes, no, I'm good. So she wrote him his red light ticket, and then she failure reduced speed. And his insurance paid 100% in full.
Good.
Oh,
That's
it was interesting.
hilarious.
Oh,
That sounds-
baby Jesus.
Very interesting.
I think it's hilarious when people cause an accident and then they get out going, what are you doing? And it's just like, you did that to you.
Yeah.
I didn't do that to you.
But it's the mentality of people.
yeah.
It's not my fault.
Never my fault.
Yeah.
Never my fault.
Well,
Never
and
did it.
Especially if you are at fault, I think it's the mentality to be like, not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
I'm a
Like,
little-
immediately.
I'm a little too honest with that, though. We had a recent insurance claim, and it was my fault, and I called it in, and we're like, well, what happened? It was like, well, I left the damn door unlocked and the alarm off. And then they're like, okay. You're like,
It happens.
that's what fucking happened.
Yep.
So,
It's honest, but again, it's 5 seconds.
Yeah.
5 seconds after an accident. After that,
Yeah.
your personality will kick in. You want to be honest or dishonest, and how
Oh,
bad do you
quickly.
want this?
yeah. I think people are overall very dishonest about things that they did wrong.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I have always said to my boys, own it.
Yeah.
If you did something wrong, own
Just
it.
own it. Yeah.
Oh, you,
Well, and
you look
people
so
will
much
respect you
better. Yeah, people respect that way more
Yeah.
to just be like, yeah, I'm not perfect, man.
No, I told
That's
mine
fine.
the same thing. If let's say at work, if you mess up, just be like, that was my fault.
I did it.
Because next time when you're like, it's not my fault, they'll be like, every time it was his fault, he was like, it is my fault.
Yeah.
I owned up to it. So that time that you go, it's not my fault, and someone else says it is, they'll tend to believe you over that other person if
Yeah.
you have that repertoire
you've been
with somebody.
honest.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just be like, I'm a piece of shit. Sorry. I fucked up.
It happens, man.
Dude, you're going to fuck shit up. That's in anything you do.
No, and I think it's one of the hardest parts of raising any child in this day and age.
Yeah.
And both my boys, you don't hit women, and there's that fine line. We had one of their friends come over and he was like, they were getting their butt beat by a woman. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
as a woman, I don't hit a man.
Right.
I was just taught never to hit.
Well, yeah, you don't hit somebody if you don't want to get hit back,
Right.
because that's generally how that ends.
Well,
Yeah.
and honest to goodness, and I don't care if it's a man or a
yeah.
woman, but
But you still don't hit women. If a woman's beating you, get out of the situation. I've had
Leave.
somebody just lay into me, and I couldn't. Like, come on.
it's not even
break
it's
her
not
neck.
it's not a fair fight, but it's still it's like you give everybody else the same respect that you demand.
Yeah.
And I always had all the teachers, the lunch ladies loved my kids because thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
respect.
Please, would you like some? I would like some chicken patty, please.
Mhm.
And they would, like
Mashed potatoes? Yes, I'll take some mashed
Yes,
potatoes, please.
And thank you. And they were always so polite. And I said, well, it's because I beat it in. I mean, I taught them.
I taught them well.
This is back at the time when you beat your kids.
Well, it
Once a day
Sometimes they
for
need
something
it.
they were going to do later.
They need a
'Cause you knew.
little, at least a little fear, if nothing else.
Well, and they always joked. They always feared me more than anybody else.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not that I ever had to do much. They just knew I demand. It's not that you demand excellence. I don't
No,
demand
you had
excellence.
that point, and they knew if they crossed that point,
Mhm.
there was going to be hell to
You
pay.
ask either one of my boys right now, and they're probably going to hear this podcast and they're going to giggle, but do you want to go to the bathroom? And I could say it in any tone. Do you want to go to the bathroom? Do you want to go to the bathroom?
Mhm.
I don't care what a tone. It was like, no. Because that's where
That
they
is
went and they had the
hilarious.
conversation because it was a closed door, and I would evacuate that bathroom. Get here. I got the kids to take care of, and that's just how it worked. with
That
me.
is so funny because literally last week. So and you got to get out of here. So I'll
Yeah, we'll wrap
make
this
this
up.
quick and then we'll wrap this up. My middle son had a band concert. He's in the honors band or whatever.
Mhm.
So we went to his band concert, and my youngest, 8 years old, ants in his pants,
Mhm.
cannot stand still, can't do it. He is just being terrible. They're playing, he's talking loud, he's all this stuff. And so in between songs, I looked at my wife, I said, I'm gonna take Declan to the bathroom. He looks like he's gotta go to the bathroom. And he's like, I don't have to go. And I'm like, I'm just the whole time walking down the stairs, I'm just squeezing. I get in the bathroom and I'm like, if you don't sit down and shut up for the rest of your brother's band concert, you will have nothing when we get home, and it will be bedtime immediately, and you'll have nothing for a month. No,
No Switch.
no video games, no
No-
Switch,
Yeah.
no tablet.
No, I was
No,
gonna
nothing.
say
You will
tablet.
do nothing but sit in your room on your bed with your hands crossed for the next month.
Mhm.
I'm like, I need 20 more minutes out of you.
You can do. I am that person who can tell you, you can do anything for an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we went back, and he was perfect the rest of the time. Got his tablet when he got home and everything. But you
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
going,
It's a
you
fear
want
of
to go to the
not.
bathroom just brought that up because I was sitting there like, gotta do something. I don't want to just yell at him in front of all these kids or all these people.
Oh
all
no,
these
because you get
parents and
turned
stuff.
in, or
Whatever.
I mean, you
I-
have it. You
I
have
almost
it. But I was that person. I had mystery spankings,
Mysteries? Oh, so okay. Yeah. So
so they didn't know
you
when
were
it was
getting
coming.
one, but you
I'm
don't know
like,
when it's coming.
that's one, and then later on that day, that's two, and they're like,
Oh, I see.
so in the next 24 hours, I don't care if you're sleeping,
At some point.
you're
That'll
gonna get a
keep 'em in
spanking.
line.
So they walk around hiding their butt,
Oh, yeah. There you
but
go.
they were always on their best behavior because they didn't know when it was coming, and then
They never
I'd
knew.
come out of nowhere and it's like.
That's all.
So we had mystery spankings, and that was that was kind of our deal. And
That's a good idea.
but again, both my boys tower me, and
Yeah.
they.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like I'm terribly tall.
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah,
not
they're still
terribly
scared to
short.
death.
I
of
think
They
they would.
still are.
Oh,
They're
dude.
still
Some
scared to
things
death
don't
of-
change,
they're
but it's
And
not.
they should be.
Yeah.
Yes, they should.
Yes.
No, that's certain things. I have friends who have girls, and they're like, "Oh, we grounded them from going to so and so's house," and I'm like, "Oh no, we had mystery spankings in our house. We had get along shirts, and then they would have to sit on the couch and hold each other's hands and have to
I've
kiss
done
each
that.
other, and
I've
timer
done
would
that.
go off in the oven, and
I
here
got
I
3
am
boys, so
cleaning.
played that game.
Yeah,
They walked around Kennedy Space Center in Florida holding hands, the oldest and the middle one, because they weren't getting along, and I was done with it. So I made them hold hands while we walked around the entire Kennedy Space Center.
hmm
4 hours.
That's awesome.
we made the boys
Get
paint.
along.
They couldn't get along, so we made them paint the top of the sun deck for on top of the boat, and it's a good size deck. I mean,
Yeah.
it holds a full size boat underneath it, so it's oversized with a 1-inch paintbrush,
Oh, that's good.
and then it wasn't waterproof, and then it rained,
Oh, no.
and then it had to happen again. Get along,
Yeah, that's-
and
that'll
for
teach 'em a lesson.
them, and it's ironic. Those boys are so tight,
Yeah.
so tight, and it's.
Oh, they are.
But I mean, and kids are kids, and I get that. But hopefully, I
No.
gave them a little push on that.
Yeah. No,
There
it's,
you
it's,
go.
good,
You did
it's
good.
good they have that
You
tight
did good.
relationship. I mean, that's important to have with your brother, your sister, or whatever. You should have.
Especially
As an-
later on like that. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to fight when you're younger, and you're going to have that. But when you
But-
get older,
As an adult, as a parent, you've done something right. When your kids actually, after everything, I was the disciplinarian one,
mhm.
that they still want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I got a lot of respect for you.
Yeah,
and
that's something to be said, that they still
Oh, yeah.
want to hang out with you.
Absolutely.
That's
No.
that level of crazy. How crazy do you? Yeah.
Well, it depends on the person you talk to.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's pretty good, honestly.
Oh, should have enough.
Thank you.
Misty, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
It was fun having you on here. We talked about a lot of good stuff, and we'll get you on here again. Get through a couple more people, and then Misty Part 2.
Or do.
That's perfect.
Thank you.